خيرا, let's begin inshallah. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen, wassalatu wassalamu ala Rasulillah wa ala alihi wa ashabihi wa sallam. Rabbi shrah li sadri wa yassir li amri wahlul uqdatan min lisani yafqahu qawli. For those of you who've just joined us right now, alhamdulillah, welcome to our first episode of Friday Shutdown, alhamdulillah, where inshallah we're going to have a somewhat Q&A session /talk by our beloved Shaykh Shaqur Rehman in relation to the current situation that we all find ourselves in. So Shaykh, first question inshallah, you ready, yeah?
I'm always ready, bruv. You know that.
Inshallah. Are you scared?
I'm scared of Allah.
So what about those people who are scared? Yani, why do they have this element of fear?
Okay, to answer that question, I want to take us back to an incident where the Prophet ﷺ was met by a delegation. So this delegation comes to the Prophet ﷺ and they say to the Prophet ﷺ, جئناك لنسألك عن أول هذا الأمر, that we have come to you to ask about the beginning of this. The beginning of what? Beginning of this whole creation. That's what they're asking for. This, yani this meaning everything that we witness, the heavens and the earth that we can see. So the Prophet ﷺ, he responds to them and he says to them, كان الله ولم يكن قبله شيء. Allah was there and there was nothing that preceded him. ثم خلق القلم, and Allah created the pen. وكان عرشه على الماء, and Allah created the pen and Allah's throne was already on the water, above water. So this is the beginning of our creation that we know of, our universe. Now what is the Prophet ﷺ telling us? That yes, Allah created this pen, and then we know as part of our fundamental beliefs and our pillars of our belief is the fact that Allah told the pen to write. And the pen asked Allah, what shall I write? Then Allah commands the pen, write that everything that is going to happen from now until Yawm al-Qiyamah, everything that's going to happen. So it was written in the preserved tablet, Al-Lawh al-Mahfuz. So now everything that is going to happen has already predated the actual occurrence of all of those things by 50,000 years. Allah wrote it in a book, preserved it, no one can touch it, it's guarded. Al-Lawh al-Mahfuz. So now, everything that actually happens in the world, in the universe, is only with the will and permission of Allah. He controls it. As he says, وَاللَّهُ غَالِبٌ عَلَىٰ أَمْرِهِ وَلَكِنَّ أَكْثَرَ النَّاسِ لَا يَعْلَمُونَ. That Allah is completely in control of what's going to happen and what's happening and what will ever happen and has happened. But most people don't understand that. Man, by nature, fears the unknown. That's our nature, that's our fitrah. That's why when Allah says, in Surah Maryam, in the two places, once about Yahya alayhi salam and once about Isa alayhi salam, but it's very similar. About Yahya, Allah says, وَسَلَامٌ عَلَيْهِ يَوْمَ وُلِدَ وَيَوْمَ يَمُوتُ وَيَوْمَ يُبْعَثُ حَيًّا. That peace be upon him the day he was born, the day he will die, and the day he will be resurrected. Some of the Mufassirin, when they talk about this ayah, they say peace be upon him because these are the three moments in a person's life where they are most fearful. The day they are born, because they leave the known womb to the world and they come to this world which is unknown to them. Then the day they die, because they leave the world that they populated and knew so well, and they leave it for the next world, al-barzakh, yani the actual interspace or the grave. وَيَوْمَ يُبْعَثُ حَيًّا, and the day that they will be resurrected is the third and final most tormenting or scariest moment in one's life, because you move from the known, the grave at that time, to that which is unknown, the akhirah itself. either Jannah or Nar. That's the thing to be scared of. And when a person knows, and not only theoretically knows, but actually believes and lives the reality that Allah is in control of everything. Without Allah, nothing can happen. Without Allah's permission, nothing can happen. It's not about cause and effect, because the cause will only have an effect if Allah allows it and gives permission. When a person lives the reality of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, when he knew everything is in the hands of Allah, and it's not my will, it's not what I want, because Allah is fa'alun lima yurid. He is the one who does as he pleases. And on top of that, لا يسأل عما يفعل وهم يسألون. He's not asked about his decisions and why he did this and why he didn't do that, or when will this happen or when will that happen. No. There is no one equal to Allah, which means no one can ask him, let alone stand in his way. When someone has this fundamental belief in Islam, which there is no difference over. Just before I came onto the show now, I was actually in my local shop and we were discussing this issue. People are losing this fundamental belief of our Islam, of our deen. We're losing the fundamental belief of Iman. That's why people, as the shopkeeper was telling me, that's why people were fighting for the goods in his shop without care for anyone else. That's why they were so scared. If a person knows, you know what, my time is written. The things that are going to happen to me are written. The things that are going to happen to the whole universe are written. There's no change in that. Upon me is to put it in the hands of Allah, do what's necessary, what Allah wants from me, and leave it in his hands. And know and trust that Allah is going to take care of it, like he takes care of everything. Then there's no need to fear anyone except Allah. Then there's no need to turn to anyone except Allah. Then there's no need for anything except Allah. But the problem is, with all the scare stories, with all the news about the pandemic and who's dying and how many are dying and everything else, we've become washed away with this fear of the creation, and we've forgotten about the key cornerstone of our belief, that nothing happens in the world except with the will and permission of Allah, and nothing can change that. So that, in short, is my answer to that.
Jazakumullah khairan, Sheikh.
Oh, yeah.
Sheikh, what about when sometimes it gets a bit more personal and a bit closer to home? A lot of people are saying now that as the days go on, the trajectory that the UK is sort of showing is arguably worse than Italy or other countries like that. What about those who say when it gets closer to home and my family members pass away and then I'm in a situation where perhaps I can't go and visit them or I can't even attend their burial? What would you say as an advice, as a preparation for those people who perhaps these are some of the thoughts that are daunting them at the moment, or the thoughts that are on their mind at the moment?
Yeah, definitely. And this is what we need to prepare ourselves for, because, you know, these things are going to be personal to us. Life is personal to us. It's our lives. At the end of the day, what's the most important thing in our life? Yani someone dying doesn't mean that they have lost. Allah is the one who said, Kullu nafsin dha'iqatul maut, that every single soul shall taste death. That's the reality, and that's the fact. There is no other fact after you're born except that fact and that reality that you're going to die. I'm going to die. My parents are going to die. My father, rahimahullah ta'ala, has already passed away and gone back to Allah. My mother, who's still alive, at some point, she is going to die. Everything will perish, as Allah said. وَكُلُّ مَنْ عَلَيْهَا فَانٍ كُلُّ مَنْ عَلَيْهَا فَانٍ. Every single one, everything will perish. كُلُّ مَنْ عَلَيْهَا فَانٍ. Everything's going to perish. There's no changing that reality. That is the reality. Believe it. Prepare your heart to be ready for whatever Allah gives you. How do you prepare your heart? This is the most important thing. What we should be saying is not, oh Allah, prolong the life of this person, prolong the life of that person. No, Allah, we should say, oh Allah, protect us. Oh Allah, give us good and don't try us. Oh Allah, give us your pardon. Free us of all calamities. And free us of the greatest calamities, the calamities in our deen. And give us the strength and the courage to be patient with your qadar, whatever you decide. Give me the best and make that choice for me. Ya Allah, I put it in your hands. Not just mere words. We need to say it from our hearts. We need to say it to ourselves. Oh Allah, whatever you will, make me pleased with it. Oh Allah, whatever you will and you decree, make me pleased with it. If we keep telling ourselves this statement, this one statement, and we kept repeating it, and we repeated the fact, بِيَدِكَ الْمُلْكِ, in your hand is the kingdom. And we trained ourselves to believe this and live this reality, we will be able to deal with whatever happens. No one wants to deal with a loved one passing away. But the thing is, the greatest of Allah's servants, the Imam of the Muttaqeen, the leader of the people of paradise, Muhammad ﷺ, had to go through it. So no one's going to be free of it. We're going to face the loss of our loved ones at some point, whether from corona or not. It's not corona that takes life. Allah is the giver of life and the one who takes it, no one else. It's His decree. It's not the decree of any illness or any person. No, that is just something that Allah makes it seem as the cause. But who caused the death and who causes life? It is only Allah. الذي خلق الموت والحياة ليبلوكم أيكم أحسن عملا. Allah is the one who created death and He created life to test which of us is best indeed. This is why we're here on this earth, to see how we're going to behave in the face of the challenges that Allah throws our way. We shouldn't be worried about anything else. And SubhanAllah, that brother I had a conversation with just a few moments ago in the shop, he said, you know what? People are so scared of this, that, and the other, and they're forgetting what you should be scared of. And this is, and he's not a scholar, he's not a student of knowledge. He even said to me that he struggles to maintain his salah 5 times a day. And then he's saying to me, you know what? This is what I should be scared of. What am I going to do when Malakul Maut comes to me and knocks on my door? Am I ready to answer the questions that Allah is going to ask me? Now, if we prepared for that moment by telling ourselves constantly and then forcing ourselves to implement this reality, that biyadika al-mulk, the kingdom is in the hands of Allah. Oh Allah, I put everything in your hands and I trust your decision. So Allah, help me be pleased with your decision. Give me sabr upon your decision and make me pleased with your decision. We'll be ready to take on any challenge that we'll ever face.
Jazakumullah khairan, Shaykh. SubhanAllah, one thing that you said was very powerful, that it's not corona that gives death, it's Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives life and death. So in link to that, if a person say they wanted to start practicing and now they feel this whole situation has got them to start reflecting, however now they're stuck at home, what do? How do they now take the practical means to actually come closer to Allah, to prepare for Ramadan, a Ramadan where potentially there won't be any tarawih in the masjid, potentially, or there's no places for them to go where they can be around good brothers perhaps? What advice would you give to those who want to make that step now to come closer to Allah, however they feel that there's no options for them out there?
SubhanAllah, in our technological age, this should not even be a concern. Really, it shouldn't. And relying upon Allah means that you have the trust in Allah that Allah is going to make a way out for you. All you have to do is be sincere. You know, we all know the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ, when the Prophet ﷺ tells us that Allah says, if the slave takes a step towards Allah, Allah runs towards the slave. If the slave approaches Allah by a handspan, Allah will go towards the slave ba'an, yani a whole arm's length. If he walks towards Allah, Allah will run towards him. We know this. And we've experienced it in our lives. All you have to do is take a step, a sincere step to Allah, and Allah will take care of everything you need. So what is it that we need? Okay, so you want to, because you've realized, you know what? I was in oblivion before. I was so neglectful of Allah, I didn't realize all the favors of Allah upon me. I didn't realize what Allah was saying. وَإِن تَعُدُّوا نِعْمَةَ اللَّهِ لَا تُحْصُوهَا إِنَّ اللَّهَ لَغَفُورٌ رَحِيمٌ. What Allah said, if you were to count up the blessings of Allah, you would never be able to count them. And Allah is still so forgiving and pardoning and so merciful. We turned away from Him so much. We ran away from Him so much. And then what did He do? He showered us with mercy and bounty. And even we were so heedless. We were committing sins. We were neglecting the obligations that we owe and the right of Allah. And what did Allah do? ظهر الفساد في البر والبحر بما كسبت أيدي الناس ليذيقهم بعض الذي عملوا لعلهم يرجعون. Allah made us taste some of what we had earned with our own hands. Not to just punish us, not to humiliate us and to overburden us, no. لعلهم يرجعون. So that we would actually take that moment and reflect. And that's what happened. We started to reflect, you know what? There's no power except with Allah. There's no one who controls anything except Allah. Really, I need to submit to Allah. Even in the calamity, it was a blessing. If that's what happened to us, it's a blessing. The bringing of the arrogant to their knees, those who said, we are the masters of the world, we have progressed so much. If it brings them to their knees such that they say, you know what, we need to turn to the heavens, because all our means in our hands, in the physical world that we live in, have come to an end. There's nothing left except turning to Allah. Then in that was a blessing for them. Now, to take the next step, we've got so many things, so many different avenues. Yes, we can't mix with people like we used to, but that doesn't stop us mixing with people like we're doing right now over the internet, talking to people, getting advice, making friends, keeping each other strong in our houses. We're not living by ourselves. Most of us, we have families. By talking to each other, building their iman, praying together in our houses that we're living in. No one's stopping us from doing that. There's no getting away from that. Make your house, your place that you're staying, wherever it is, make that into a garden from the gardens of paradise. How do you do it? That's where you pray. You make a little masjid in your house. If you can, a whole room. If you can't, a corner in a room. Make it into a space where you sit, and not only you pray, but where you sit after your salawat, you do your adhkar in that place. Make it a place where you sit down and read your Quran. Make it a place that you sit down and read hadith of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Make it a place of ibadah, that whenever you feel lonely, you turn to that place, turning to Allah. And you will find that peace and tranquility with Allah is so sweet that nothing in this dunya can actually match it. Make your house the light. Make your house a house like a star that the angels see in the heavens because of the dhikr and worship that occurs in that house. If you miss out on your friends and you miss out on any other acquaintances, make new acquaintances on the net. Get together with those acquaintances on the net. There's so much we can do. This loneliness can easily be mitigated with this technology. And if the technology dies, then try to make your friend, your beloved, Allah. Because the one who turns to Allah will never be failed. Allah will never let you down. The creation cannot fulfill your needs. The creation will at some point always let you down. If you want the firm handhold that will never break, the friend that will never let you down, make your friend Allah. And how do you do that? Be where He wants you to be, and don't let Him see you where He doesn't want to see you. Obey Him in every moment, remember Him in every moment, and never turn to His disobedience. And if you fall short, and if you commit a sin, and we're all that slave who commits sins and falls short and becomes neglectful, then all Allah wants is for you to say sorry. Ya Allah, I was silly, I was stupid, I made a mistake. Oh Allah, I take responsibility for it. Ya Allah, forgive me. That's all Allah wants. No huge amount of money to pay, no extra thing that you have to do. It's so easy. Make wudu, pray 2 rakah, say, oh Allah, forgive me. And that's it, done.
Jazakumullah khairan, Shaykh. SubhanAllah, there's a statement that recently I think it went around mentioning how it was in the belly of the whale that Yunus alayhi salam was forgiven, in the fortress of the belly of the whale, and it was in the fortress of the cave of Hira where the Prophet ﷺ, he received revelation. So these type of moments, SubhanAllah, are definitely huge opportunities for us. However, obviously being in the 21st century with so many distractions around us, our phones, social media, Netflix these days, where you could watch things 24/7 on repeat, whatever, whenever. How does one navigate in these times to actually utilize their time and actually make something of themselves and come out as a better person? Another Sheikh, he mentioned how he gave an advice, and he said, and don't let these days of solitude be an isolation be such that you come in as one person and you come out as the same. Rather, it should be the case that you come in and a few months, if it's the case, 3 months down the line, you come out as a different person. So what advice would you give to be of those people, of that category of people, and navigate around the social media and TV and all of this distractions that we have around us?
طيب, يعني this is similar to, يعني, we were just talking about Ramadan a little bit. You touched on Ramadan. Yani, what is that whole ethos of Ramadan? What's the perspective that we need to have? If you look at it, it's all about self-control or managing yourself, turning to Allah and constantly thinking about Him. Now, this is what Allah wants you to learn in Ramadan. And Sha'ban, which is the month we're in now, the month that precedes Ramadan, is the time where you prepare to go into Ramadan. So this is the month where the Prophet ﷺ would fast more, he would do more acts getting ready for Ramadan, more acts of worship, etc. So this is the time for that preparation. So we've been given this time to kind of seclude ourselves from these things, to learn to control ourselves. And most of the things, yani, we know, most of the things that we look at on social media are a complete waste of time. We know that. We say it to ourselves, we say it to our friends. We know once we've spent an hour doing this, that, and the other, reading this message, that message, the other message, we turn back and we think, you know what, it was all the same. What was the point? But that time's gone, it's not going to come back again. So what does it require from us? It requires a bit of self-discipline, learning it now. You know the discipline that you get in Ramadan when you're fasting, where you say no to things that are normally halal to you and available to you? That's the discipline you need to apply right now. Netflix, you're the one that presses the button to start it. You're the one that makes that decision and then follows it through with action. Now, if you want to be a better person, then first, then to reduce your time on it, watch something beneficial and don't watch this movies which don't actually benefit you in anything. Rather, they take you away from Allah. Start watching documentaries that benefit you in your life, in your professional career, that which benefits, documentaries rather than movies and these series that they have, and you can waste all your life on them. Get away from that nonsense. Really, it is nonsense. What do they promote? Do they bring you closer to Allah? Then it's not worth it. Just say, La qadar Allah. May Allah protect us and not make this happen. Just say, Allah decides that Allah is going to take our lives tomorrow. Just have that thought in your mind. What are we going to answer to Allah? What are we going to say? You knew what you had to do and you wasted your time on this and that and the other. What was the time you gave to Allah? And if you thought about that, then you would stop yourself. But the problem is, we just want to pass our time. Now, how do we change that attitude? Change the attitude by saying to yourself, you know what? I'm bigger than that. I'm better than that. You know what? The distractions of this dunya are not worth it. Now, to achieve that, I want to remind us of one incident that happened during the Battle of Al-Qadisiyah, where the commander-in-chief at the time, Sa'd ibn Abi Waqqas, he sends Rabi' ibn Amir to Rustam, the leader of the Roman Empire, the leader of the Roman army, who has called for a messenger to come so he can negotiate. And Rustam at this time, he wants the Muslims to go away. He doesn't want to engage in fighting with them. So he's called for a messenger. And Rabi' ibn Amir, he's not the leader of the Muslim army, but he gets sent. And he goes there with his shabby dress and his shabby armory and spear, whatever he has, is very basic, nothing. Rustam has set up a palace in the desert, a palace in the open with the finest luxuries that money can buy. And he has his thrones and his leaders have thrones. Rabi' ibn Amir, he comes in riding on his horse, riding straight up to this leadership of the other side. Rides up, and then he gets off his riding animal and he starts walking with his spear, poking holes in these expensive carpets. So the guards, they stop him. And they say, you can't go like this. He says to them, you know what? You guys called me. Either I go like this or I don't come to you. I'm going to go back. Rustam, the commander-in-chief of the army, he says, you know what? Let this guy come. He comes right up to Rustam. They're all sitting on thrones. There's no throne for him to sit on. He just simply sits on the floor. No problem, no issue. And then Rustam asks him, why are you people here? Now listen to the answer. He says, we are a people that Allah has sent to take the people out of the worship of the creation into the worship of Allah. And to take people out of the injustice of all religions to the justice of Islam. And to take them out of the narrowness of this world, this worldly life, into the vastness of this world and the hereafter. Now Rustam, fast forwarding the narration, Rustam is so taken aback by this. He says to his people, you know what? There's no way we can beat these people. Aren't you amazed by these people's view, values, the way they conduct themselves? He walked in without any distractions. He didn't look at all the pearls and the gold and the luxuries that we have. It didn't faze him. He wasn't interested. He had such a goal, a vision. Allah. A person like that, you can't defeat. A person like that has to be respected. A person like that deserves honor. A person like that becomes superhuman. Now, you can become superhuman. You can become a living Superman. How? Your vision, your commitment, everything that you have, every morsel of flesh from the bottom of your heart is only for Allah. That will make you superhuman. You will become Allah's friend. And if Allah is your friend, فَلَا غَالِبَ لَكُمْ. There is no one who can defeat you. let alone a little virus.
Jazakum khairan, Shaykh. Very powerful words, subhanAllah, ones which we definitely need to reflect upon. Just to make a quick announcement, if anyone has any questions from those who are watching live, feel free to ask questions on the actual chat, inshallah, and we will look to actually share that, inshallah. So which brings me, Sheikh, to one of the questions which has been asked a few times. Is this pandemic a sign of the Day of Judgment?
And these types of things, talking about the unseen and what's going to happen, we know Allah has told us through the Prophet ﷺ concerning the signs before the Day of Judgment. Yeah, and one of those signs is al-maut al-faj'a, people dying spontaneously without any prior causes. We know there's going to be earthquakes before Yawm al-Qiyamah, or approaching the akhirah, approaching the final day. We know there's certain minor signs and then there will be major signs. This is an ayah, a sign from the signs of Allah. And it should make us reflect, you know what? Allah is the majesty. There's no majesty except Him. There's no one who should be feared or turned to except Him. That's what all of these types of signs should do for us. If they don't, then we haven't taken heed, we haven't learnt the lesson, and we're going to continue in our lives the way we have been. And that's not going to benefit us. And when we finally meet Allah, then we can't hope for anything except what we deserve. Right, so this is a sign from the signs of Allah. Now, as for the wisdom behind it, is it a sign for people to wake up? Is it a punishment? All of these types of things, then Allah knows best. But what we do know, what the Prophet ﷺ said specifically in these types of affairs, they are a punishment for those who are afflicted, who turned away from Allah and rejected Allah. And those who disbelieved in Him, if they are given this calamity by Allah and they die upon disbelieving Allah, rejecting Him, then it was a punishment for them. As for the believers who are afflicted by them, it is rahmatan lil mu'mineen. It's a mercy for the believers, as long as the person maintains the two things the Prophet ﷺ mentioned in the hadith. He is sabiran, he is patient during the affliction, if he gets it. Muhtasiban, he only hopes for a reward from Allah, knowing that every pain, every feeling of pain, everything that he's going through is just an expiation for his sins. So if a person lives like that, then whatever happens to him is good for him. It's exactly what the Prophet ﷺ said in the famous hadith, Ajaban li amri al-mu'min, that it's amazing the affair of the believer, and it's only for the believer. This is exclusive to him. Anything that happens to him is good. If a calamity befalls him, he's patient, and that's good for him. And if some bounty comes his way, then he gives thanks to Allah, and that is also good for him. And that is only for the true believer.
Jazakumullah khairan. Another question, Sheikh. A bit back to the fortresses that we're within, as in our houses, and making these places fortresses of lights. What advice would you give? Specific, a bit, you touched upon it a little bit, but if you could expand a bit more, how does one make the most of their time throughout the day? As in, sometimes you might be reciting Quran, but then what? How much are you supposed to recite? You might read a little bit of a book, you might watch a talk, but then you might get bored and you might do something else. How can one structure their time? What advice would you give, specifically and especially as a preparation for Ramadan?
Okay. We all know there's no better way to use your time than using it in reading Quran, and specifically now memorizing Quran. From personal experience, I wasn't one of those who found memorizing easy at all. I remember when I was trying to memorize Quran, that I would spend my whole day just with the Quran, and I would keep going, and I would take a break to eat or go pray or whatever I had to do, and I would want to rush back to get to the Quran because I felt I needed to go over it over and over again so that it sticks. Right? There's nothing better than doing this. And I advise my young brothers and sisters who don't have the responsibilities of parenthood and providing for the family and the rest of it, take this opportunity to isolate yourself with the Book of Allah and memorize as much as possible in this time, because you're never going to get an opportunity where you can focus on memorizing Quran like this opportunity. You're never going to get. Yani we had to isolate ourselves, and now Allah's made you isolate. So this is the perfect opportunity to memorize your Quran and memorize as much as possible. Now, like Minhaj was saying, you know, people, they can only do so much of Quran. Okay. So then if you find yani you're getting bored, okay, you're getting bored of doing this same repetitive act, then choose another act of ibadah. Dhikr of Allah, making dua to Allah, reading a book. It doesn't always have to be Islamic books. Read something that benefits you in life skills, so it's part of your self-development, something that's going to benefit you in the world, in business, something that's going to benefit you in education, whatever it is. So do something, and then when you get bored of it, do something else. It's from the hadith of the Prophet as well. Yani keep doing Quran until your heart becomes tired of it, then go to something else and come back to Quran afterwards. When you've had a bit of a break and done something else, come back to it. Yani maybe move your body around, have some exercise, do a few exercises in the house, wherever you are, jump up and down, some burpees, some press ups, some chin ups, whatever it is, do some exercise that gives you a break. But try to make most of your day something productive. And I prefer that people read books rather than watch videos. If you actually want to move and upskill yourself, you'll never find a way to upskill yourself better than reading. But we're all averse to reading now. That's the problem. Right now, there are so many different websites, whether Muslim or non-Muslim, whether it's Islamic topics or non-Islamic topics, you will find so many websites that are offering things to you for free. Take the opportunity. Go onto these websites, read that which benefits. You know what you want to do in your life. If you don't, figure it out. This is the time to figure it out. And then figure out what are the steps, what are the things I need to learn to become that person that I want to become, so that I leave a legacy behind me in a dunyawi sense and in an ukhrawi sense. Knowing that the tawfiq, the ability to achieve that, is only from Allah. So ask Him to aid you. So that's the first thing. Oh Allah, I want to make this time more beneficial than any other time. Oh Allah, help me. Then take the practical steps. Right. I know after an hour of doing something, I need at least 10-minute break. So factor it in. Some people work really good with timetables, some people don't. So depending on how you work, make a basic timetable and be ready to change with it as well. So you need something when it comes to your Islamic, first your Quran, both reading and memorization. You need in that Islamic learning, Islamic topics that you read over, spiritual topics, fiqh, reading through the hadith as well. You need exercise, you need life skills, you need education. So these are the main categories. If you have a portion of these every single day, by the end, even if it's by a few weeks, let alone a few months, you'll come out a much higher caliber person than when you started this period. Inshallah ta'ala.
Barakallah feekum, Shaykh. Another common question, Shaykh, which many are actually asking: what is the ruling on praying Juma at home? Because potentially we may not be able to have that blessing of praying Juma for a long time, and now perhaps many people, they're taking it for granted. They regret it and regret not making the most of that blessing. So what is the ruling on praying Juma at home? And if so, how would one go about doing so?
Okay, this is the first point that you made there very crucial. You know, before it was so easy for us to get up, walk outside, go to any masjid that we wanted to, choose the khatib that we wanted to, go and listen to. It was all easy, wasn't it? And we never appreciated it. We never appreciated it. So now Allah's taken it away, and now we appreciate, and now we value that which we've lost. Unfortunately, this is the nature of us, of human beings. We don't appreciate something until it's taken away from us. But remember, at the same time, what we're going through is nothing compared to our brothers like the Uyghur Muslims, the Muslims who were suffering in India and who are suffering in India, the Muslims who are suffering in Kashmir, the Muslims who are suffering in Syria, the Muslims who are suffering in Palestine, and the list goes on and on. What we're facing is nothing compared to what they're facing. So we should really reflect, you know what, we're living still in luxury. We've got so many blessings that we need to be thankful for, because if we're not thankful, لَإِن شَكَرْتُمْ لَأَزِيدَنَّكُمْ, Allah says. وَلَإِن كَفَرْتُمْ إِنَّ عَذَابِي لَشَدِيدٌ. That if you're thankful, I'm going to increase you, Allah says, in your bounties. And if you turn away from my bounties and turn with ungratefulness towards me, then my punishment is severe. So we need to guard our bounties by giving thanks for what we have. And you'll only do that if you look at those who are less fortunate than you, who are in worse situations than us. So that's the first step. Number two, we know, you've all seen and heard all of these different verdicts and rulings flying around about whether you can pray Juma at home or whether you can't. Okay? So what I suggest for those who are in the UK and the general Muslim masses who can't look at the evidences and go through the detailed Islamic discussion, just remember a couple of things. Point one, every single week we knew that Juma was an obligation upon us. Every single week we prayed Jumu'ah, or if we didn't, we knew if we missed Jumu'ah that we had done something wrong. The Prophet ﷺ, we all know, told us that if a person misses 3 Jumu'ahs in a row, then their heart is stamped. We know these facts. Okay. We also know this is not a Muslim country, and our parents and perhaps even grandparents, when they came over, there was no masajid, and they were praying in houses together, and then from those congregational prayers in houses, they managed to establish the masajid. This is how it all began. Okay, so based upon this, and knowing that establishing a Jumu'ah in a house is a valid juristic opinion that is held by great scholars of the past, and many scholars are pushing that opinion in the lands of the non-Muslims. Knowing this fact, we should strive to establish Jumu'ah if we have 3 male baligh members in one house or in the place that we are in. What does that mean? Someone who is at puberty, above puberty, males, 3 of them. If there are 3 in one place where you are at Jumu'ah time, you can establish Jumu'ah. Okay? How would you do this? One person will be the khatib, the imam. He will give a khutbah, and keep it simple. Khutbah means that you will praise Allah, you will send salah and salam upon the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. You will mention an ayah of the Quran, at least one complete ayah, and you will give a general nasiha, a general reminder, and you will finish it off by praising, sending peace and blessings upon the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and you will praise Allah. You will have one portion, then you will sit down for a break, you will stand up again, and you will do likewise again, the praise of Allah, the salah and salam upon the Prophet ﷺ, a short nasiha, and then finishing off with a dua. And then after that, you will have the iqamah, and then there's 2 rak'ah of salah to pray. And then you'll pray your sunnah after those 2 rak'ah. So it's very simple. We've all prayed Jumu'ah, we all know the the etiquettes and the way it's performed. So don't try to get into the disputes. Know that it's a valid opinion. And I always encourage my brothers and sisters, my brothers, obviously, Jumu'ah is obligatory on the brothers, not the sisters. I always encourage our families, if we've been preventing from the masajid, if the doors of the masajid are closed, then this opinion of establishing a Jumu'ah in your house, as long as you have 3 baligh, post-puberty males in your house, then establish Jumu'ah. Perhaps through your establishment of the Jumu'ah, the community around you will be protected from so many different calamities. We ask Allah for tawfiq, and may Allah make it easy for all of us.
Ameen, Ameen. Sheikh, in relation to that, what about Taraweeh and potentially Eid Salah as well? Are they salawat that we can pray potentially at home as well?
Again, when it comes to Taraweeh, the issue is even easier, because Taraweeh, we know that the Prophet ﷺ prayed in his house. And this optional salah, like all the optional salawat, it's preferable to pray them at home. Okay, you get more reward for praying these salawat at home than you do to pray them in the masjid. Okay, this is in line with what the Prophet ﷺ said, don't make your houses into graveyards. In the graveyards, you don't pray. So don't make your houses places where you don't pray. Rather, pray your sunnahs at home anyway. And we know Taraweeh, Qiyamul Layl, is a voluntary prayer. It's not obligatory. So that has more right to be prayed at home than it does to be prayed in the masjid. In Ramadan, we establish it in the masjid because it becomes one of the great symbols of Ramadan. And this is what Allah wants. This is the practice of the Prophet ﷺ, the practice of the companions, the practice of our ummah. Right, if we're deprived of this, there's nothing stopping us from praying at home. Taraweeh can be prayed. You could pray with your wife. You could pray with your mother and your sisters. You could pray. It doesn't need a congregation of males or 3 males. There's no restrictions like that. It's even easier. You pray it by yourself if there's no one around. You pray it with your family members, whoever they are, the children, the parents, the siblings, everyone. And establish that in your house if it can't be established in the masajid. You asked about another issue. What was the other one? You said Taraweeh, and what was the other? Oh yeah, Eid, Salatul Eid. Now, Salatul Eid is another thing. We should right now, during this period of time where there's so much uncertainty what's going to happen next in terms of the regulations that are going to be put on us, we should strive in making dua. Oh Allah, lift this calamity from us so that we can establish your symbol where the Muslims will gather together to declare Eid al-Fitr. Oh Allah, don't deprive us of coming together in the parks like we've been doing for so many years now. Don't deprive us of this great blessing to manifest your worship in front of the society that we live in. This is the dua for right now. As for the ruling on what we're going to do if it can't be established, let's leave that and let's be optimistic. And let's implore and beseech Allah to our utmost from the bottom of our hearts in the greatest moments in the depths of the night when Allah responds to his slave, and ask Allah, oh Allah, lift this calamity from us so that we can establish your worship in public like we've been doing for years, and don't deprive us, Ya Allah. So I want us to be optimistic. Allah will respond. Allah will remove this calamity as long as we want it for a good purpose. And there's nothing better than wanting to establish Allah's worship publicly. And there's nothing greater in that symbol than the coming together of the Muslims, Yawm al-Eid. May Allah lift this calamity from our country and the world for our Eid to be established all over the world, making it a moment of rejoicing the great blessings of Allah. May Allah not deprive us and the Ummah of this great blessing.
Ameen, Ameen. Jazakumullah khair, Sheikh. Sheikh, another question which is popping up, inshallah. We're quite short on time, so we just a bit more lighter questions, but yet still important. What do people do with the barbershops being closed at the moment? but they can't get their blends or their sort of
Yeah,
cuts. What are you doing?
Minhaj, is this an Islamic question?
Yani advice from your experience.
Is it an Islamic question? What's this got to do with me, Yaki?
The viewers are asking, Sheikh. So what can we do?
Yani, what, they're gonna ask me for this advice on style and how to dress and all that kind of stuff? I don't think so.
They must find you very stylish, Sheikh.
Oh, mashallah, mashallah. Yeah.
So what would you
Okay.
advise, Sheikh?
What would I advise? Yani, let your hair grow then, innit? Khalas, let it grow. Wear a hat, wear a turban.
There's a new fad, Sheikh. Apparently, a lot of people are going bald at the moment.
Yeah, like yourself, yeah?
Alhamdulillah.
If we take off that hat, we'll see what it means to be going bald.
Alhamdulillah, alhamdulillah.
I think right now you've got less hair than me.
La ilaha illallah. Alhamdulillah, alhamdulillah. Jazakum Allah khairan, Sheikh. Let's see if there's anything else. There are some other questions we have. They're not really as related to the topic. And some of the topics will be covered, inshallah, in the following sessions. But there's one question which some people seem like as if they're really eager to ask. Veganism, what's your view, Sheikh? And is it wrong to be a vegan if you love animals and you don't like cruelty to be sort of taking place towards animals?
Okay, there's a couple of things here, yeah? Now, first and foremost, Allah has made everything in the world for us to benefit from and for us to enjoy. As he said in Surah Al-Baqarah, هو الذي خلق لكم ما في السماء هو الذي خلق لكم what's the ayah in Minhaj in Surah Al-Baqarah هو الذي خلق لكم ما في السماوات وما في الأرض. سبحان الله أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم اللهم صل على محمد وعلى آل محمد. يعني Minhaj, remind me, أخي, come on. والذي خلق لكم ما في الأرض جميعا ثم استوى إلى السماء. That's the ayah. والذي خلق لكم ما في الأرض جميعا. This part of the verse that Allah created for us everything in the world for our benefit. Okay? From that are the animals. From that, Allah has legislated for us to slaughter, saying Bismillahi, Allahu Akbar, slaughtering the animal in the way that Allah has prescribed for us. Now this is from the owner of these creatures who has given us permission to slaughter them and to benefit from their meat and benefit from every part of them. So the owner of them gave us permission to use them. So they are halal for us. One can eat from them. Okay, so this is one side of it. So we can never say these things are haram or they are bad for you, because Allah doesn't endorse anything that is bad for us. Okay, that's one side of the discussion. If we choose, you know what, I don't want to eat meat because I just want to train myself, or I feel that when I eat meat, I become more, I become obese, or I eat too much of it, I enjoy it too much, and then I feel that I have certain desires more, etc., and I want to curb this, then there's no problem. You just want to refrain from it. There's no problem in doing that. And some people say it's healthier, some people say it's not healthy, etc. So there's different opinions on that. That's up to you. You do your research and you see what works for you. Yeah. We know the famous hadith where the three men, they came to the Prophet and they asked about the ibadah of the Prophet. In that, one of them said, you know what, I'm not going to eat meat at all because I want to try to do more than the Prophet because I need to do more than the Prophet. And the Prophet rebuked these three. And he said, no, this is not the sunnah, my sunnah. So stick to what I have given you. Right? The Prophet, he ate meat when it was available. But it wasn't available to him that much. Okay? So the Prophet had very basic food, and many days and weeks and even months would pass sometimes. And the Prophet only had dates and water to eat. And he was the greatest of Allah's creation, sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So, yani, what you eat, it is true. Ibn al-Qayyim talks about it. Yani, that statement, you are what you eat. Yeah. So Ibn al-Qayyim talks about a similar kind of statement, or yani, pushing the same kind of or a similar kind of narrative, and he expresses that quite deeply, and he goes through it. So be careful what you eat. Don't overeat. The Prophet ﷺ, we know, he said, yani a third for food, a third for water, a third for air. And he practiced these things. Stay away from things that you don't want. That's not a problem. But what you need to be careful on is don't make things haram that Allah has made halal. As long as you don't do that, do whatever you want. It's not a problem. Wallahu a'lam.
Jazakumullah khairan, Sheikh. Sheikh, I'll take 2 more questions, inshallah. One question is from a brother. I believe he works for the NHS. He's asking, how should those who are working in the crisis, especially NHS workers, make the most of their work and make it for their dunya and benefit their dunya and their akhirah?
Okay, this is a good one. Brothers who are and sisters who are on the front line, working day and night, they should first and foremost make that intention that I'm here to serve the people for the sake of Allah. Okay, they make that intention, and then they should be thinking, you know what, I'm stepping out there. And in some cases, because the protective equipment, like I was speaking on a show last night, and the doctor was saying that they don't have enough or sufficient protective equipment. So going into that, they need to remind themselves before with Allah's decree, whatever happens, and thankful with whatever Allah gives me. That's the greatest thing that they can do. And then they go into work, and then they remind themselves during their work, you know what, I'm going to go above and beyond when it comes to helping people, not because of my work, not because of my contract, not because of anything, except Allah wants me to help people. Because the Prophet ﷺ said, yani, the best of people, khayrun nas anfa'uhum linnas, are those who are most beneficial to people. Ash-Shafi'i rahimahullah ta'ala, when talking about the sciences and the things you can learn and implement, he says the greatest of them is the Islamic science or the Islamic sciences. Then after that is the science of medicine. Okay, because the effect is you are saving people's lives. You are helping them live. Now do it for the sake of Allah, and you accumulate rewards in this world and the hereafter. If you get taken away from that perspective and it all becomes about the dunya, then it's not going to go beyond your life. But if you make it about Allah, it will never come to an end. And that's what we want for ourselves, and that's what is incumbent for us to want for our brothers and sisters on the front line. May Allah protect them from all illnesses. May Allah relieve them of all illnesses, and the rest of the ummah as well. And may Allah make their work sincerely for His reward and to see Him Yawm al-Qiyamah, such that He's pleased with all of us Yawm al-Qiyamah.
Ameen ya Rab. Sheikh, alhamdulillah, we're coming to a close, inshallah. So quick final points. How are the kids? Being at home with the kids, Sheikh? How is it?
Alhamdulillah, yeah, you know my 6 here. You know them well because you've taught most of them, I think, as well. I can hear them in the background. That's why I've got the mic here, so you can't hear the noise that they're making in the room next door. Like everyone else, yani, we're just like everyone else, in it together, and being home with them 24/7, pretty much, except when I have to go out and buy things, or we go for a little walk, a little bit of exercise, or go out in the garden. Otherwise, we're all in at home trying to do our own self-development, our own Islamic learning, Quran, etc., their Quran, their Islamic learning, their education, and then just trying to get on with life, the basics. With me, really, with me and my wife trying to manage the 6, it takes us the whole day anyway. And we wouldn't have to go outside. We're just so busy as it is inside, just trying to get their things and our things done. It's a challenge in itself. We ask Allah for aid tawfiq. And at the end of the day, we can only do so much. We leave the rest in Allah's hands. Me and my wife, we always tell each other, yani, what do we want for our children? What do we want for ourselves? If we were to meet Allah with Him pleased with us and not achieve too much in the dunya, we would have succeeded. If our children grow up as good Muslims, meeting Allah and He's pleased with them, and they didn't have anything in this dunya, then we would feel as though we are successful parents. That should be our main goal. If they live and die as good Muslims, we have been successful and they have been successful. Our iman is more precious to us than anything in this world. Life will occur, death will occur, illnesses and calamities will occur, but our faith must be constant and on the ever increase. Walhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen.
Jazakumullah khairan, Shaykh. We have a lot of very important questions. However, due to time, I'm not going to be able to ask them. Final point, Shaykh. Do you play Fortnite, Shaykh? Got the headset, Shaykh.
Do I play Fortnite? I got the headset. Yeah, this is not my headset anyway. This is something that I needed for my kids and my wife's Arabic and Quran lessons. They do some lessons over Skype. So I was looking for it, and my wife found this in a shop that she was going past somewhere in Beckton. So she bought it. So that's how this ended up at home. So I'm using it. It came in use for me as well. And as for Fortnite itself, my nephews play it. I don't let my kids play it. They do play it when they go around, when they used to go around my mum's house when the nephews and were playing it. So they did play it every now and then. And they talk about it. When they were at school, they used to talk about it. But I don't actually let them play it at home.
Exactly.
But I do let them play Street Fighter.
MashaAllah, MashaAllah. So those who are asking Shaykh for his PSN, I don't think Shaykh actually has one. Note that down. Alhamdulillah. Don't worry, Shaykh.
What's a PSN, bro?
I'll tell you about after, Shaykh.
It's ilm, yeah? Okay,
Alhamdulillah. Jazakumullah khairan, Shaykh. It's been an honor to host you for our first session of the Friday Shutdown. And inshallah, perhaps in the future we can have you again. Do remember us in your du'as. May Allah bless you and your family. Make this, protect your family from all types of diseases, and all of us. May Allah protect us all, preserve all of our health and the health of our family members, and make our homes like fortresses of light, which will be a means for our salvation al qiyamah. Jazakumullah khairan, Shaykh.
Ameen. Ameen. May Allah reward all the brothers that you can see and that you can't see who made this possible. May Allah make it a means to protect us and a part of the heavy load in our scales on the good deed side, inshallah ta'ala, yawm al-qiyamah.
Ameen, ameen. Jazakumullah khairan. And all those who are watching, please do subscribe to our channels to get the latest updates. Subscribe to our YouTube channel, our Facebook, facebook.co.uk/Muslim Youth Network UK, and our Twitter and Instagram pages, MY_UK. I've been your host today, and this brings me to the end of our first session of the Friday Shutdown. Jazakumullah khairan. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.